as you said, I've studied from Ahmedabad. I have 18 years of work ex behind me. The last corporate stint that I did was as Chief Business Officer of Super
The fee structure, I thought that was really innovative. Do you want to share a little bit about how you've thought about the fee plan?
We are India's first and only business school that the fee that the students pay is directly linked to the salary that they get through us.
I'm Naman Pandey. This is the Ready Set Do podcast, and in this episode, featured not expert is Suchit Sikaria. Suchit is an IIM Ahmedabad alum and the founder of Crucible Institute, a business school which is seeking to completely revamp business education in India by optimizing for practical skills needed for digital-first businesses, which the whole world, including India, of course, is seeing a huge boom of, instead of outdated theory taught by industry professionals. And the fee structure is something that is so unique that I've never heard anything like it before.
I was teaching at NMIMS Mumbai, the core MBA program, but there are those glimpses of the problems that might exist in lower tier institutes. In a typical MBA program, students will go through about 35 courses on an average. The way we have designed the curriculum, about 18 of those courses don't exist in any MBA curriculum.
Trying to think of what some of the problems that you envision might come up. In line with our theme of learning from somebody that's just 2 steps ahead of us instead of an expert, my goal with this episode is to spotlight what goes into building an entire business school from scratch. An absolutely Herculean task, one that I'm surprised Suchit is tackling just by himself. Although I'm sure the large sum of money that he's raised is probably helping him.
The first 2 hires that we made are not people who are marketers, not people who are sales, key folks, not people who manage my campaigns, etc. But
subscribe on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast apps for weekly episodes featuring not experts and daily clips from those episodes on Instagram and YouTube. And now, without any further ado, here's Suchit. Welcome to the Ready Set Do podcast, where we learn from journeys of not experts who are just 2 steps ahead of us. Suchit, welcome.
Hey, hi Naman.
So excited to talk to you about how you're attempting to solve the crisis that MBA education has become in India. And I know we have a lot of layers of the onion to unpeel here today, but why don't you kick us off with what Crucible Institute is and what problem it's seeking to solve and why you're building?
Sure. I wouldn't call it a crisis, publicly, but yeah, I think the sentiment is something that we don't have to put it in words. But I think, before we talk of Crucible and why we are doing that, it is actually very important to understand uh, the, as you said, the current state of MBA education and what prompted me actually to say that, oh, there's clearly a wide gap and there's a big enough problem statement that requires a slightly different solution than what the typical MBA institutes have been doing. And without stating the obvious that the current MBA education is not very connected to the industry side of things and what the industry really needs, I think that will be stating the obvious. But let me go a few layers below and try to unearth why we are seeing what we are seeing. Okay. And I think in my journey of trying to figure out what I want to build in education space and the journey which eventually led me to Crucible, there are 5 or 6 key things that I realized are the core reasons why the state of MBA education is what it is. Okay. And one big disclaimer before I go into those details is that when I speak of MBA education in general, I'm talking of the averages. We're not here referring to the top institutes because obviously most of them are doing fantastic job and that is why they continue to deliver what they're delivering. So this is beyond those top 70 or top 100 colleges is what I'm referring to. Okay.
That's
So
a
just
great
want
call out. Yeah. I was just
yeah.
also going to have you clarify that, but love that you already did that just by yourself.
And obviously within those balanced 2,900 colleges also, I'm sure there are a few which are doing interesting stuff, but we're talking of the industry at large and averages. Okay. But I think if you really try to understand the fundamental issues, at least from my perspective, what I was able to understand, and this is based on my teaching experience for 6 months for 400 students, my interaction with students across different colleges and the faculty members, both permanent and visiting faculty across different tier of institute. In my sabbatical, I was teaching at NMIMS Mumbai, the core MBA program. And NMIMS is a top institute. And this might be a bit controversial when I say this, but I think the first question that we should be asking when it comes to the MBA ecosystem in the country is who's running these institutes. Okay. The moment you ask that question, who's running these institutes, a lot of things become clearer because uh, there are two kinds of people out there. One who have true love for education, yeah. Uh, but the people who are running the institute, the true love for education is a minority feeling. In the love for business of education is a lot more stronger feeling, and that is where lies a lot of problem. Because the next set of questions that I will lay down, which I mean, so first, anyway, the first question is who's running these institutes. Okay, without going into details, it's something for everybody to figure out. Where is the money coming from? Who are the people backing that institute, etc. And is there enough love for education when they're running those institutes? Okay. The second big thing that we need to really understand is uh, why are they running those institutes or why are they teaching? Okay. Uh, are they teaching to provide education? Are they teaching to provide skills? Are they teaching to build personality and careers? Or are they teaching to suffice the demand that the industry has in terms of talent and trained talent, etc.? Okay. Uh, Ideally, it should be a combination of all of these, starting with what the industry needs and hence building talent, skill for that, and providing education in that direction. But the big problem is industry, for some reason, is not very integrated into how the education institutes run, and hence why are they teaching is not as clear as it should be. Uh, uh, because what it feels like is the teaching is happening only to provide a degree and to earn a certain fee against that degree. And that is why you see the disconnect between the kind of roles that the industry wants, the kind of skill building the industry wants, the kind of salaries for which there is demand in the industry versus the salaries that the institutes are pushing. Uh, and hence clearly the disparity between the fees that they're charging and the actual salaries they're able to deliver because they're just pushing fees, increasing prices, etc. Without really understanding that the industry may not require so many people beyond 15, 20 lakhs of salary. The real demand in the industry might exist at a slightly lesser salary point, and hence there's no reason why you should push the fees beyond a particular level because then you're automatically doing that math. Okay, for this much fee, I should be able to deliver this much salary, but those roles don't exist, and then the expectation of students is a big mismatch because the students coming after paying so much fee also expect that kind of salary, but somewhere the rationalization needs to happen that there are only so many roles that exist at 20, 25 lakhs of salary or even 15 lakhs of salary. The bulk of the industry requirement lies at a much lesser salary price point.
Mm-hmm.
Who's teaching students for those and who's developing that mindset that you start your career depending on your initial caliber in various grades, and then you in the long run eventually you will meet somewhere in the middle. Okay. uh, but anyways, why are they teaching is very, very important. I don't think a lot of institutes have a very clear answer. If they had that answer, they would automatically integrate a lot better with the industry and do things around what the industry requires. Okay. The third,
So if I can really quickly just pause you
huh,
here,
huh,
and if I say, well, the goal for these institutes when they teach students is that they just want to provide the, even if it's bare minimum, but they just want to provide the bare minimum business education to this person, that then they hope that using that framework, or just the bare minimum that they provided, the student will then be able to by themselves figure out their path forward. Do you think that's an
absolutely.
acceptable response to that in terms of why most institutes teach MBA, or
No,
not really?
absolutely, absolutely not. I mean, see, the thing is, uh, ultimately you're a business, right? I mean, you're not doing this as a non-profit entity. You're not doing this as charity, philanthropy. Okay. So if you're doing it as a business, there is one fundamental reality about business that there's a customer. You charge a certain amount to that customer and you deliver an outcome to that customer. Okay. Uh, what is that outcome is what I'm trying to question. I mean, are they
Mm,
taking ownership
I
of that
see.
outcome? It's very hazy. They're saying that we'll teach you and we will provide you a platform to get hired, but are they doing enough for the right hiring? Because the industry, so the other aspect, the student is one customer of the institute. Okay, the other indirect customer is also industry, right? The companies
Right,
who
correct.
hire
Absolutely.
from these colleges. So, I mean, colleges are providing students to these industries as a customer. Okay. is the industry happy with the kind of readiness that these students come in, or are they still struggling to say that, oh, these guys are not job ready, the fee does not really justify the skills that they bring on table, and these are not just technical skills, it's also a lot of soft skills, managerial skills also. Yeah. So is industry also really happy with the outcome? Is a big question. Unless you clearly define what is the outcome that you're answering with your education, with your institute, it's a big problem. Okay. And I mean, addressing your original question, I think the third and a related point is uh, what are they teaching? Okay. If I have no clarity or very limited clarity on why am I teaching and what is the outcome am I delivering, then what do I need to teach also becomes a big problem, because then you're teaching everything under the sun, largely generic. You're not upgrading your curriculum, you're not making it contemporary, you're not understanding what kind of skills that the industry currently requires. How has industry moved forward in the last 1.5 to 2 decades? Because if you see the curriculum at most of these colleges, it is pretty standard, it is still the same. The curriculum still teaches marketing as 4P largely. Okay.
Okay.
The full first year students just learn 4P of marketing, etc. Whereas in companies, marketing has taken a completely different shape and form. I mean, there's a brand marketing specialist, there's a retention marketing specialist, there's an acquisition marketing, there's performance marketing, there's content-led marketing, there's product marketing. Uh, some of these things don't even exist even as terminologies inside these MBA programs. Let's say supply chain, okay? Supply chain, what innovation has happened in the curriculum? Whereas if you actually see the kind of brands that are emerging, or they are D2C brands, digital first brands, there's a large e-commerce play, there's a large modern trade play, there's a large quick commerce play. So, uh, I mean, you might say that supply chain is supply chain. What do these things have got to do with supply chain? But the thing is, there are a lot of newer things that have emerged. What are distributed fulfillment centers? Unless you understand those nuances, it's very difficult to say that I will become an operations specialist, etc. Right? So, uh, I mean, and on a lighter note, for example, the curriculums. I mean, the curriculum still teaches people how to calculate cash flow. Okay, whereas the businesses are saying, can you be somebody who understand how to manage cash flows? Calculation, etc., is all fine, but I mean, if you're in a P&L role, if you're in a business ownership role, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
first at least understand what cash flow is. And I mean, the next expectation is, can you manage it for me? Because if you don't understand that, a lot of these new age businesses, startups, etc., I mean, won't even exist, right? So these are conversations that are not even happening inside the traditional MBA colleges. Okay.
You're right.
And hence I'm saying, what are you teaching? Is that curriculum based on the outcome that you want to deliver? And if the outcome is industry ready talent, automatically you'll understand what roles at what salary and hence what skill and
Mm-hmm.
hence what needs to be taught, and the curriculum will automatically flow from that, because that link is broken. And immediately related thing is who's teaching. If the curriculum is what it was, you don't really need newer talent and newer skills to teach that. Somebody who taught that 10 years ago is good enough to teach, in fact better, because concepts, etc., you develop a better perspective. So the faculty who's tenured in teaching some of these core concepts are still great, and they continue to be loved by students, etc., and I think deserve that respect completely. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem is, uh, what is being taught is, I mean, is so limited in the current context and so irrelevant to the current context. The newer things have gained so much more importance. There's not enough regular faculty to teach that, because they have to have exposure of how an e-commerce company works, how a D2C company works, what is an
Mm-hmm.
omni-channel supply chain, all of those things. And if I'm not seeing that as a industry practitioner, it's really difficult to bring that context inside the class. And hence, I
Mm.
will continue teaching. I will stay in that comfort zone to
Yeah.
teach things in the same old fashion. For
Mm-hmm.
example, sales, sales and distribution. I mean, distribution has changed tremendously because of all these third-party uh, logistics and in warehouse infra service providers. People are evaluating a non-direct distribution model where they're saying, why do I really need a distributor? What is the service that distributor is delivering to me? Because I have so much distributed fulfillment set up with third-party service providers. But
Yeah. Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is, if however good I am as a faculty, however good I am as an educator, if I don't have that new industry context, very difficult to learn it as an outsider. Point one, and is there enough effort? Is there enough time
Hmm.
for me to even go and learn if there is
Yeah.
intent? Some people do that, but those are maybe 10 to 15% of the good faculty. The remaining, I mean, the industry exposure remains the challenge. Okay, so that's the point on who's teaching. Multiple issues, industry exposure is limited, and hence they don't know, and hence they are not contributing towards innovation in curriculum. The pay structures that exist for both permanent as well as visiting faculty. For permanent faculty, I mean, there's no real incentive to do more, be more, do better, etc. Because uh, I mean, beyond the love of teaching, I mean, the salaries don't get incremented as much as
Hmm.
corporate salary would. There's no concept of performance-linked appraisals, etc. I mean, you
Hmm.
spend time and the salary increases, linear fashion, etc. Okay, and the base in itself is pretty. I mean, I don't want to share those numbers, etc. But I mean, anybody who's seen those numbers would be really surprised because the kind of money students make after getting passed out of these colleges is more in a lot of colleges than what the faculty gets paid to teach them. Okay, which is a
Okay.
big irony. I mean, and the thing is, it's not that there is no money. I mean, the fees is there, money is getting spent, but the money is getting spent on fancy infra
Hmm.
versus providing quality
Yeah,
teachers,
to what
etc.
you were saying earlier, right? That the people who are running these colleges, why are they running these colleges? And that's, I think, that's kind of where we come full circle here. I do want to just shift the light to you a little bit. So, you obviously went to Ahmedabad, right? That is the single best MBA college in India. So,
Undoubtedly.
yeah. So, I am curious. So when you share that, the third and fourth problems that you mentioned, which was that what is being taught and then who is teaching them, are these things that Ahmedabad really does that well, and all the elite IIMs, honestly. So do you, so like the stuff that you mentioned around all of the nuances of marketing, of sales and such, were you taught these things when you were there, or was this just stuff that you picked up by yourself later in your career and such? Like, do you
Uh,
ever think back around that?
No, I think completely fair point, and whatever amount of respect I have for that institution, I think the reality is also true for them to a large extent, saying that the curriculum
Really?
has also not evolved to the required levels in those institutes as well. Okay,
Wow.
obviously, but see, the thing is, I am continue to do well uh, for a lot of reasons. One of the bigger ones is really selective input. Okay, if you're only
Yeah.
admitting people who've scored above 99 percentile in CAT and have stellar performance through their school and graduation, I mean, automatically you're setting up the whole
100%.
batch as an
Yeah.
average for great success because
Yeah.
see the industry, the I mean, the reality of the situation is companies go to a college to recruit not because they really believe in the transformation that the college has done in 2 years, but they see that as a great filtering
Yep.
process, saying that I will
Exactly.
automatically
Yeah.
get the best of the talent
Yeah.
in a
Hmm.
in a pecking order. I go to IMA, I go to IMBA,
That's true.
the quality of talent I will get, etc. And that continues till, let's say, as I was saying, till top 50, 60, 70 colleges. Yeah. But the challenge is uh, the two, three things with that. 100% of the workforce in companies is made up of people who score beyond 99 percentile. That's again, I mean, a certain small percentage of the entire company.
Hmm.
So that's one part of the problem. Who's fulfilling the remaining workforce? So whatever you give them, I mean, they'll be able to quickly learn that and apply their super intelligent brains faster
Hmm.
than somebody who's not cracked CAT, etc. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. See, I mean, again, big disclaimer: at Crucible, we strongly believe that a score in an exam, whether it is a school graduation or an entrance exam, has zero implication on what your true potential is, what you can do in future.
I
But it's
agree
just that
with
how the
that.
system
Yeah.
is evaluating. I mean, coming back to the original question of IMA, yes, there's a gap there. But because the talent is super smart, they're able to pick up things
Yeah.
faster,
That
and
makes
hence
sense.
it's not as evident as what it is. And plus, the thing is, there's a healthy mix of people who've gone through a lot of work X. So when you sit in a group, etc., there's a lot of shared perspective, the
Hmm.
exposure to industry. So while the curriculum may not be as updated, the exposure
Hmm.
to industry is a lot more. The kind of alumni network that exists, the kind of intense internships that might happen, etc. So the industry exposure during those 2 years
Mm-hmm.
also adds to a lot of learning if the curriculum is not geared towards that completely. Okay,
Makes sense.
so
Yeah.
the whole 360-degree ecosystem enables a lot better learning, but I would say the curriculum is still, see, because the cases, okay, look at the cases that exist. The cases are, I mean, accessible outside IMA through IMA portal, etc. Harvard's
Mm-hmm.
good cases, all of those. The cases, mostly the good quality ones, are written in the context of early 2000s, late 1990s.
That's true. Yeah.
If you try and search for recent cases, there are hardly any in the current decade. Of 20 onwards, you will hardly find any cases. Whereas the largest shift in the industry has happened only in the last 5 to 10 years. Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
So that is a good indicator of what I'm saying, that the curriculum has not moved forward. There are not enough cases being written in the current context, etc. And I've used a lot of those cases when I was teaching in my visiting faculty stint, and I struggled to pick up cases which have relevance and resonance with the
Mm-hmm.
current generation,
Mm-hmm.
because they were not even born in that time. Okay, if you were not even born in that time, how do you understand the context of the society, the
Yeah.
cultural context, the economic
Correct.
context that existed? So that's one big problem, and the other problem that's anyways been there, irrespective of the time period, is very few Indian cases. I mean, largely the cases are
That's true.
international.
Always
Uh,
international. Yeah.
the context of the country, the culture, etc., brings so much more understanding. But uh, why can't we have more cases in Indian context, more contemporary brands, etc.? That's changing. That's happening a lot of, for example, the alternate MBA colleges like Masters Union, Meta, etc., are making that attempt, and they're bringing a lot more industry led
Hmm.
case studies, industry led problem statements, which form many cases in themselves, if we can call them that. So, I mean, there are ways to crack that, but the intent, as I said, the intent has to be towards a particular outcome, and the moment that's clear. But anyway, quickly completing the series of questions and coming to the Crucible story, I think who's teaching is important. Okay. And the next thing is, how is the teaching done? What is, I mean, basically, how are you teaching? Because one part of teaching is concept building, etc., which is very, very important. But the other aspect is, how are you able to apply those concepts into practical application? And
Hmm.
there has to be enough focus towards that. I don't think that's happening to the extent it should happen. Again, multiple reasons. I mean, the thing is, there's no one reason why there's a
Yeah.
problem,
That's
and
the
hence it is
sense I'm
difficult to.
getting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
These
yeah.
are
No,
all intertwined with each other, right?
in
It's yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, see, okay, for example, if you have to build core concepts and then do practical learning on top of that, one, you need good teachers who understand the core, first fundamental, I mean, first principle thinking, fundamental thinking, concept building, which the traditional professors do really well, and that is why we respect them a lot, right? The only challenge with them is they don't know what's happening in the industry currently, and their industry
Currently.
exposure is
Yeah.
limited. So they lose out on that. But this part, the concept building is great. Okay, and the core courses, for example, brand management, for example, consumer orientation, I mean, these don't change. The philosophy and the principle always stays the same, right? But when it comes to building practical application towards that, the one, there is no time, because the course has to be fitted into 20 sessions only. Even if I try to do something, I miss out on teaching the core concept within the course, and hence I have to rush through those concepts because I have to force fit everything in those 20 sessions. Even if I give assignments, which are practical assignments to students, I don't have teaching assistant support in so many colleges. Okay,
That's
who
right. Yeah.
evaluates those assignments, who gives feedback? Even if I'm evaluating, I will only give marks. I try to do that. In a 20 session course, I had 10 different assignments. So basically, one concept uh, every 2 sessions. So 10 concepts was my entire course.
Mm-hmm.
And for every concept, I had an assignment. But the problem was, I realized that I had given the assignment, I had evaluated the assignment, graded the assignment, but there's no feedback to the students as to how do they do it better. What is the gap? What have they
Got
done
it.
well? There is
Yeah.
absolutely no time outside the class for me and inside the class. So I mean, it's not just a problem of quality, intent, etc. It's also a logistical problem when it comes to doing learning, which is concept plus. So you, unless you solve for that logistics, whatever you do, whatever amount of, I had the greatest of intent when I was teaching, but I still
It
couldn't do
didn't
it.
matter. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because the logistics didn't support. So whatever they do inside the classroom and outside of it is incomplete if there is no real industry exposure. Okay.
Yeah.
You try to teach supply chain, but if the student has never even seen what a warehouse looks like, very difficult for that poor kid to really visualize and understand what is being said in the class. Yeah. So
Yeah.
whatever amount of practical application you build on top of concept building, if the industry exposure is missing, all of that falls flat. And hence, how you teach also has to have a great input from the industry, where industry comes in and says, okay, if you're providing talent to me eventually who's trained, and you're building the entire curriculum towards what I need, and you're building the right skill set so that the student is ready from day one, I will also contribute by providing that real world exposure and live learning. That is where the academia and the industry coming together will really we solve this problem. So that's the other aspect. And I think overall, just to sum it up, eventually, what is my ownership of the outcome as an institute? Am I ready to take any kind of ownership? Ownership towards my primary customer, which is the student, and my secondary customer, which is the industry. Uh, Currently, the colleges are doing neither. And home, I mean, that's my, I mean, summary of the problem statement. I don't know if it is too
Amazing.
so I mean, I
No.
was saying I don't know if it is too clear because I mean I keep thinking about this. I've been thinking about this, so it
No, no,
sounds
it's super clear. Yeah, and I think what it has done is it has really set the stage for us to kind of revisit all of the problems that you mentioned. And if you can walk us
how
through
are we solving?
how exactly how did you think about
Yeah,
solving,
sure,
and then maybe if you can kind of self-evaluate, and I can help with that part as well.
sure,
But if you can
sure.
self-evaluate in terms of we think this will solve, I don't know, like 80% of the core of this problem, and then maybe some aspect you will be like, this we have only been able to do 60% of, or whatever the
Uh,
case might be. We can have kind of like a rank system going where we self-evaluate if that makes sense.
Perfect. No, no, I think, and I'll try and be quicker this time because we've anyways
We have
established the
no, so
context.
I think it's perfect because like the way I'm visualizing the structure here is that the first half hour was just in terms of, what the hell is the problem? Why are you doing any of this, right? That's important.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah,
just skip past that. And now once we have established that, obviously I think the listeners would love to know how it is that you're addressing this stuff, that you've
sure,
pinpointed
sure,
all of these problems. So I think,
sure.
yeah, that's perfect.
So let me take these questions again very quickly and
Exactly.
try and
Yeah.
answer it the crucible way. I love to call it the crucible way. And my creative team has also used that. Communication that also comes across
It has a
a
nice
lot.
ring to it. Yeah, I like that. The crucible
The
way. Yeah.
crucible model, the crucible way, it comes
Uh-huh.
across a lot more. But anyways, the first question was who's running the institute? Okay, so obviously I'm here. I mean, as you said, I studied from Ahmedabad. I have 18 years of work ex behind me. The last corporate stint that I did was as chief business officer of Sugar Cosmetics.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, also I've run P&L businesses, large teams as big as 250 people, etc. I mean, the point is, uh, I have left all of that and I could have done businesses in various areas. But education is something I'm doing not because it is. So if you talk to VCs, the VCs will tell you that education is not a business which gives the kind of returns that VCs love seeing. Basically, a
Really
certain X times growth in 3 to 5 years, etc. I mean, that's typically how they get returns,
interesting.
etc. So, but they will also tell you that it's a very cash-rich business. But I am not alone in this journey. Obviously, we've raised angel round of 1.5 crores. The angels who are on board are people again who love education, who wanted to do education somewhere in their career, senior pros, etc. Some of them are educators from 2 decades. Some of them are educators who've been teaching in multiple colleges, apart from doing a lot of running their own companies, founding their own companies, etc. So it's a mix of people from various aspects of business, but the
Mm-hmm.
core central theme is their love for education. And we've been very conscious of ensuring that whoever comes on board, either as a investor or an advisor or a mentor, should have that educator mindset or at least love for education. Okay, so
Okay.
I mean that net sum is who's running Crucible, who's building Crucible. Okay, why we are doing that? It's pretty simple. We're saying that it has to lead to an outcome which is where we are delivering students who are ready for the industry on day one. Basically, job ready students on day one. That is the outcome that we want to deliver. And the moment we say that, it serves both my customers really well because the industry gets trained talent at the right salary, the students know, okay, I am getting ready for this kind of industry, these kind of companies, and hence I need to study this, and this is the role, and this is the salary that exists for me. So while placement is a black box in a lot of traditional MBA colleges, people don't know which company is going to come, which recruiters are in pipeline, etc. We will give that visibility right on day one that these are our industry partners who are associated with us for live learning. So even 5 months before we've started the college, we've about 20 people who publicly confirmed with us who will be industry partners for live
Mm-hmm.
learning of students. And we are saying that if the student is regularly interacting with these companies, working with them on short projects, long projects, remote projects, internships, apprenticeships, etc., and then they see seeing that rigor, they're seeing that people are getting trained on what they need, and plus there's a very specific company related and job related training, and I'll talk about it later. Recruitment becomes an automatic byproduct, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah,
why
obviously.
would
Right.
everybody needs good talent without wasting too much time and effort
Absolutely.
on recruitment and training? And if all of that is happening with your inputs, why would I not hire? I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. One quick follow up on that, because there's obviously so many, like, for lack of a better term, mini industries within MBA. Does the student get to decide which track they're going into, or is that something that happens organically once they start learning?
Sure, sure. Okay. So the thing is, because we are saying that why are we teaching and it is related to the industry, you're right. There are too many industries that exist. We can't do it all together for all industries, okay? Because the curriculum design might differ
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
drastically for different industries. We've tried to take a subsegment which is broad enough, uh, but also specific enough for us to deliver a curriculum towards that. And
Okay.
that need for us is new age digital first businesses who are running stably, I mean, running with stability and growing steadily, and
Interesting.
also looking to become omni-channel. Okay, so any consumer product business, any SaaS product business, any digital product business that has started in the last 5 to 8 years, I would say is in that bucket. And the moment you look at these companies, consumer products, digital products, and omni-channel, I mean, aspiring to be omni-channel company, but digital first in their basic nature, you will see that there are certain roles which are common across these
Exactly.
companies.
And there's so
Yeah,
many, and there's so
exactly.
like voluminous in
The
number.
growth
Yeah.
in the country is happening there. They're
There.
the
Yeah.
ones who are ready to experiment with talent. They're saying,
That's
I
right.
don't care where the degree comes from. I am ready to bet on skills and the intent more than the degrees, etc.
Because they need
Uh,
those people immediately, right? They can't sit
immediately.
around for
Correct.
and teach somebody on the job. They're like, if you
Correct.
have this skill, please hop on, help us.
Correct. Correct. And plus, they're also very conscious of the money that they pay.
Yeah.
The moment you are very clear with that, what needs to be taught becomes automatically
Mm.
clear because you've
Yep.
said these kind of companies, these kind of roles at this salary bracket, and hence these are the skills that I need to build. And if
Mm-hmm.
I have to build these skills, what do I need to teach? Okay, so in a typical MBA program, students will go through about 35 courses on an average. The way we have designed the curriculum, about 18 of those courses don't exist in any MBA curriculum. I would be very surprised if more than 10, 12 colleges in the country would have uh, even 50% of those 18 courses that I'm talking about. For example, there is a course on product packaging and design. Now, product packaging and design is not something that students learn in an MBA institute typically, but I think that's really important because, and especially for the kind of companies that we're talking about, because product packaging is so complicated now simply because there are different channels at play, different sales channels at play.
Yeah.
To design a product pack that works on digital D2C platform, that works on a marketplace, that works on quick commerce, that works in an empty store and works in a
Mm-hmm.
BT store is very complicated because each of these channels have their own nuances. Content marketing, for example, is a full-fledged course. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, Key account management in e-commerce is a full-fledged course. Okay, the moment it is one of the most super critical roles for a digital first company. Uh, Very difficult, very hands-on. There's so much practical nuances that exist. I mean, right from saying that what is the catalog building that I need to do? What is the challenge that I face as a business when I'm listing my products? What are the various small considerations I need to have in my product catalog and product detailing so that my product feed on these e-commerce sites is well optimized. That I
Got
mean
it.
itself is so much detail. Okay,
So just
and
real quick, for this particular course, like how long would this course be for a student that's learning this at Crucible? Do you have that detail down already, or
sure.
just
Yes,
curious?
yes,
Just
yes,
curious.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So see, the thing is, the entire program is of 2 years. Okay, and the
Okay.
reason why it is of 2 years is because the kind of transformation that we're talking about for specifically people who have very little experience after their graduation, etc. I
Hmm.
mean, we need that much time. And plus, if you're talking of concept building plus practical learning,
Right.
as well as industry
Apprenticeship, all
exposure,
of that. Yeah.
all these three things, I mean, it takes that much amount of time. Okay. Uh, what we are saying is once we have decided the curriculum and top level courses, we've also gone to the detailing of what we need to do within each course, what are the important things, and
Okay.
hence what is the minimum duration that we require for that course. Okay. Uh, and we have not stuck to a format where a course could either be a 10 session course or a 20 session course because largely that's how it happens. We are saying irrespective of whatever number of sessions it takes, it could be a 5 session course, it could be a 45 session course also. Okay. There's one course that is 45 session. Now you would say, why don't you break it into two courses? The simple reason is we've broken courses into two or three different courses only when the skill set of the faculty required to teach that is different. If the same skill set and the same kind of
Okay.
faculty is required to teach
I
that,
see.
why should I break it up into multiple modules? Because then there is no continuity. The other big problem in curriculum design, I've not gone into those details, is
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, within the current setup, the intelligence in curriculum designing is so missing. I mean, I don't even want to go into those details. And I mean, large part of the learning gets missed because you've not done the curriculum designing properly. Because
Yeah.
either
No,
there
for
are
sure.
redundancies across different courses, or you've missed out on certain key aspect of a particular course, or you've just force-fitted a big course into lesser sections, etc. So that's the problem. And hence, we have said that what is the minimum duration for that course, given that we have to teach these many topics.
Hmm.
Typically, the moment you break down a course into the topics that you want to teach or the concepts that you want to teach in that course, you will have an idea because typically a concept takes 2 to 3 sessions. Okay.
Okay. I
If
see.
there is a practical assignment associated with that concept, you will take 3 sessions or you will be able to do it in two. Okay.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
you also provision for a lot of practical simulation inside the class because if I just leave it outside the class, there's very little chance that it actually gets done in the way it should be. Whose teaching is very, I mean, a no-brainer because the industry experts have to come and teach. Because, for example, key account management in e-commerce is something that, I mean, the best of the educators can't teach if they've not done it themselves. Okay,
Exactly.
somebody who's
Yeah.
done that has to come and teach. So that's the kind of faculty, and I mean, the other big problem that I have with non-traditional colleges, or let's say the modern format colleges, is they're over glamorizing the CEO and the CXO involvement in teaching. Uh, it
Okay.
sometimes feel as if they're running a series of podcasts because I mean, how much time can a senior guy come and dedicate towards teaching? Maybe a session or two or three.
That's
Yeah.
just crazy. I didn't even know this was happening. It just feels like not the smartest idea to me at all because
I mean,
why
the problem,
would
the thing is, the real teaching is happening by the right set of people. Okay, I'm not saying that the real teaching is happening only through the CXO level people, but the communication is such that, I mean, the CXOs come and teach here. Okay, the CXOs come
Hmm.
and take guest lectures. They do
Right, right.
small workshops. They do perspective building. But the
Hmm.
real teaching is being done by the right set of people. But the problem is you're misleading again. I mean, you the torch bearers, and you should be correcting what is wrong with the mis-selling in the industry, and hence you cannot also end up, I mean, for right intent and for, I mean, for all right reasons, but anyways, so that's one of the things. But the thing is, the kind of people whom we would get is somebody who's at a mid to senior manager level, not the top leadership, because the top leadership, even if he or she has the time, will not know how to set up a product catalog. Impossible for them to know because they've not done it themselves.
Exactly.
Hence,
Yeah, yeah. It would be like
yeah,
reading off a book, and nobody wants that or is interested
correct.
in that because I can read off a
Correct.
book, you know. So
Yeah,
why do I
yeah,
have that person doing that?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one. Okay. And the other thing is when it comes to curriculum, you might say that okay, person X from this particular industry will come and teach this particular course. But then there is a problem within that is that if I come from fashion industry, my knowledge, my experience, and my perspective will largely revolve around the fashion industry. But when you're
Hmm.
teaching, you need to make people think and teach how to think in various scenarios, in various contexts. Yeah. And that is where we also will have per course area, not per course, but per course area, a paid panel of industry experts who come with diverse experiences and diverse
Interesting.
industries. Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
at least
Yeah.
3 to 4 people with quarterly sync ups in person, or I mean, if geography is a challenge, but I
Hmm.
mean, a fixed frequency sync up for a day or two to figure out what's happening in their industry, what latest, what tools and technology, how things are shaping up, etc. And
Hmm.
if we see a very serious shift happening or something that we've missed, that just immediately provides input to modify the course outline immediately. And because the person who's teaching is also a part of that exercise, it's responsibility of that person to also incorporate some of those learnings. And the other thing that we're also doing, the first two hires that we made are not people who are marketers, not people who are sales folks, not people who manage my campaigns, etc., but people who are program coordinators and learning experience managers, and not just one person, but two people for the same
Gotcha.
role. Their primary responsibility is to ensure that the quality of teaching and learning should not be a function of the quality of the educator. Okay. Because
I see.
if you rely only on what the person is bringing to the table and you have no inputs as an
Yeah, I
institute,
was just going to say, because then it will be like, I know the one of the problems was that it's not skewed enough to the industry, but now we run the risk of having it be too skewed to the
absolutely,
industry and to
absolutely,
that specific industry. So
absolutely
I
right.
think that's the constant, yeah, problem solving that we'll have to do here.
These two program coordinators who will also be doing their, one is a person pursuing PhD, one is a professor already in an undergrad college. Okay. So those are the kind of people we've picked. So this is how we solve for some of those things. Not 100% solvable because the big constraint here is again logistics.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
there are people who working on sabbaticals and have taken breaks to actually teach, etc. So we have a mix of those people, but also people who are currently working alongside doing this. So it
Makes
will
sense.
be a bit of a challenge, and we'll have to be flexible. So one of the things that we've already incorporated so that logistical challenges get mitigated uh, is basically typically in an MBA college there is a term of 3 to 4 months, 3.5 months, and one course is spread across the entire term in equal number of days. So
Yeah,
two sessions per week, etc., etc. We are saying once we start a course, we finish that course in continuous sessions. So there's
I
a
see.
session every day for the course. Two reasons: one, because of logistical challenges of our visiting faculty, they can't keep
Hmm.
coming for 3 months if they're working.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Hmm.
two, I realized that students forget if there's a gap of 1 week in between
Yeah,
two sessions.
that's
I,
true.
I,
Yeah.
I would always do a quick 5 to 10 minute revision every session because I got feedback from the students that this is helpful. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, because
The
it's
other,
consecutive days. Yeah.
and I mean, if you're doing revision, it helps. So I mean, if you're doing it in continuity, we're able to build concepts sequentially, and we're
Hmm.
able to do a lot of things on top of each other. Okay. Uh, so that's about who's teaching, and I've also covered in a bit. I mean, how we teach,
Yeah, I
which is
think we
basically,
actually covered most
yeah,
of the, the
yes,
way
yes.
the you're solving. I did want to save this really cool part for the last thing, which is that when we were talking, thinking offline about the fee structure, I thought that was really innovative, and I think a lot of our listeners will be. Honestly, I was blown away by that. So, do you want to share a little bit about how you've thought
Absolutely,
about the
absolutely.
fee plan and the fee structure?
Sure. See, whatever I have said will sound like global gyan and global philosophy because it's easy to say all of these things. Okay. I was talking to one of our current mentors. She's in our advisory and mentor list. But when I was talking to her for the first time, and she's a professor, ex-professor at IIM Indore for more than a decade, I think,
Okay.
and she's a PhD herself from IIM Ahmedabad. Okay, and when I pitched this to her, she said, "Every new college talks like this only. I mean, I will see it when you do it," and which is
Yeah.
fair, okay, because I mean, that's a fair reaction. And hence, coming to answer your question, which is where I want to just own what I'm saying and put my money where my mouth is. Uh, I had said that this is built for the industry and the student as consumers. Okay. And if I'm so confident of the model that we are teaching everything that the industry requires and recruitment should be a byproduct, etc., I should be confident enough to say that my fee that the student pays to me should be directly linked to the salary we are able to deliver for them. And hence, what we are saying is we are India's first and only business school that says the fee that the students pay is directly linked to the salary that they get through us, which simply means that if you earn more through us, you pay a higher fee to us. If you earn lesser through us, you pay proportionately less fee. Okay. The
Yeah.
simple math is whatever your salary is, we will only charge 67% of that as our fee.
Mm.
So we are saying that the initial cohort, our projected salary range is about 8 to 12 lakhs, and hence 10 lakhs is the average salary that we are expecting for our first cohort. 67% of that is 6.7 lakhs. Uh, you pay that 6.7 lakhs in the first year in four equal installments. So it's not pay only when you get paid model because that it's easy to get confused. That's
Hmm.
gimmicky in my mind. That
Yeah.
is not what we intend to do. This is not a marketing communication. This is basically saying that we will own the outcome. And hence we charge that 6.7 lakh in four equal installments. And again, I mean, most of the colleges charge a heavy amount upfront, which puts the student under pressure of taking loans, etc. But we don't want to do that to our students. Once the placement happens after 1.5 years of the course, if you get placed at, let's say, 11 lakhs, which is 1 lakh more than the 10 lakh average, you pay me an additional installment of 67,000, which is 67% of 1 lakh. Okay. Or if you get a salary which is, let's say, 9 lakhs, I refund that much amount to you. Okay. Uh, Basically, the idea is uh, we've benchmarked ourselves on this particular quality parameter, which is salary to fee ratio, with the
Hmm.
best colleges in India. And if
Hmm.
you average out the top 25 colleges, their salary to fee ratio is 1.5, or 67% of the salary is the fee that they're charging. Okay.
Okay.
On
Yeah.
average basis. And we said that while our absolute salaries may not be as high currently,
Hmm.
but at least on that quality metric, we want to
Yeah,
benchmark
that
against the best.
ratio should still stand
Yeah,
tall.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where this thought comes from. It is plain and simple. I have a big problem with all colleges that charge a certain fee, but there's no ownership of the outcome, and the fee keeps increasing, the batch sizes keep increasing, but the money doesn't go back to the educators. The teacher
Or the
salaries don't
industry.
yeah, or there's no benefit to the industry, etc. Exactly. And I mean, the moment all of those things happen, there's no quality in education, and hence we
Mm.
are saying that we want to build it in a very, very responsible manner, and we're very upfront about it, saying that I this is not lip service, and that is where
Yeah,
that
yeah.
whole claim of fee linked to salary is a centerpiece of how we want to build this, because that gives students a confidence saying that okay, whatever be the market condition, whatever be the situation after 2 years, I am not getting burdened by a heavy loan
Mm.
just because I have not earned the right package. Because right
Yeah.
now there are colleges who are charging a fee upwards of 18, 20 lakhs, but their average salaries are not more than 12, 13 lakhs.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a big problem for the students. I mean, people talk about MBA being a long ROI game, etc., etc. But where is the long ROI? Where is the short ROI? There's no ROI.
Yeah. That no, that makes sense. Thanks for sharing that in such great detail. Really, the just the last question here before I let you go, because I know I want to be mindful of your time. But I know when you were, planning about this, the whole fee structure, it seems to me it's just such a key integral part of your whole package that it's like you can't think of Crucible without this offering just because it's so
Yes,
unique.
yes, yes.
So I'm just curious as to what some of the you know potential pitfalls, be it in the in terms of how it's being perceived by your students, or by students that would want to be interested in this, or even really just society or businesses in general. I'm just trying to think of what some of
Sure,
the
sure.
problems that you envision might come up. Not necessarily that these are just unfixable problems, but I'm just trying to think when you were
No, no,
doing this
fair.
brainstorming, what was that like, and what were some of the things that came up?
Sure. So, to be honest, when I was doing my brainstorming, I had never thought it about it like that, because
Okay.
in my mind, my intent was extremely strong. Okay, and I'll talk about as a closing remark. the three things that I wrote as my purpose statement when I started thinking
Yeah,
about building an
that'd be
education
great.
institute.
Yeah, I see. I see.
But when
Got
I
it.
spoke to a lot of people, obviously, I mean, the challenges and practical challenges and fair challenges, as you also rightly said. I think the first thing is this turning out to be gimmicky in communication, because I have had to, I mean, forget the normal people outside my team and my, I mean, partners, etc. For my creative team to explain it to them that this is not pay only when you get placed model. That
Yeah.
is not what we are saying. It's very different. And then somebody in my team said, okay, why can't we flip this and say that you get paid 1.5 times of the fee? Okay. I said those are also two different things. While mathematically 67% and 1.5 times are the same thing,
Yeah.
but the moment I say uh, you pay me X and I will give you 1.5x in salary is
Hmm.
very different than saying whatever salary you get, I will only charge 67% of that. Okay.
Right.
So mathematically the
Absolutely.
same, but consumer behavior wise, two very, very different things. So the
Correct.
first
Yep.
pitfall is making it sound gimmicky, and I've been very conscious that this is not gimmicky. Two, people asking, okay, if that is the case, what if a student starts relaxing during the 2 years, saying, I mean, my
Oh,
salary
yeah.
and my
Right.
fee, I
Right.
mean,
Right. Yeah.
okay,
It's water
that's a
under
big
the bridge. Who cares? Yeah.
yeah. And hence, if you see our brochure and the communication on the website, we purely mentioned that this does not apply to the bottom 20 percentile of the batch after repeated feedback and monthly evaluation. So if after every monthly evaluation and repeated feedback and input, you're not improving your side of the effort, this
Hmm.
is this is not a facility that's there to make us look good. This is for the right student who want to put in the right amount of efforts, and not an easy escape for people who don't want to put in the right amount of effort. So that's the second pitfall, that student might take this easily. Okay. The third thing is the question that comes up, which says, "What if I don't get placed at all? Do
Hmm.
you charge no money?" Uh, I think that's a very fair question to ask. Uh, but if if the student does not get placed in spite of fulfilling the right amount of effort from their side, etc., we will have to stay true. But I don't see that scenario, because I mean, as I said, for a batch of 30, we already have 20 partners onboarded, which are publicly officially communicated, and we are onboarding more. So if I mean, per student, if I have more than one partner who's already associated 5 months in advance of opening the college, and we're
Hmm.
doing everything with them. The faculty is coming from those companies. I mean, the learning opportunities are happening with those companies, and they definitely demand the talent. They have that requirement. The salary structure that we're talking about is extremely reasonable, and the kind of intense hands-on training. I mean, we have not spoken about, but most of the MBA colleges don't teach people the tools and the platforms required for doing day-to-day jobs. Okay, if you're a
That's
retention
right.
marketing manager, you can't do without learning a marketing automation platform, and we will teach that inside out, maybe better than some of the folks who've been doing it for 6 7 months would know. Okay.
Wow.
So if
Yeah.
that is the kind of level we want to bring to our students, I mean, recruitment will be an automatic no-brainer. While it sounds like a challenge, it's not a challenge in
I like that. Yeah, because I was ready to jump all over you and start poking holes into what happened to accountability. If you would have said that, oh, we will still charge them anyway. But so it's good that, yeah, it really does feel like, this is an honest
yeah,
offering,
yeah,
and you're
yeah.
not really a gimmick,
See, the
which.
only thing that
Mhm.
we'll be expecting from the students is a lot of flexibility and a lot of rigor. Okay, if
Right.
they're flexible
Yeah.
enough in the kind of roles that are available, because the industry uh, situation and context might change every year. Yeah? So I
Yeah.
mean, that's pretty simple. But
That's
anyways, I
fair.
think yeah, yeah. I think I'll maybe touch upon the three things that I wrote
Yeah,
as my
that'd be
purpose.
great. Yeah, I would love to end on that note. Yeah.
And I mean, it's so beautiful because I mean, in my sorry, digressing for a 30-second bit, but
Absolutely.
in my
Take your time. Yeah.
NMIMS stint, we were talking of brand building, and we said that what is the importance of writing a clear brand purpose and sort of brand values. I think what we did at Crucible, I mean, just was a great example of how important the brand purpose could be, because everything that we have done has flown from those three things very seamlessly. Uh,
Wow.
I'll quickly talk about that. The first thing is we will be non-elite. Okay. Uh, by that, I mean that this will never be an institute that only caters to a certain section of the society, which is either coming from a privileged background and hence has a starting point which is ahead of the others, who's able to pay more, who have had a certain quality of education, etc. I mean, if those students come to us, great. We're not discriminating, but we are saying that we will never be we will never be elite in the way we operate.
Yeah, makes sense.
The second thing that we wanted to do was to say true transformation. We will ensure that there is true transformation that we bring to our students, which means that we will shape their character, skill, and personality, and not just skill. Okay, which
Interesting.
requires a lot of effort outside the class as their mentors and understanding where their gaps are and working on them subconsciously. They might not even know. Okay, but I will ensure, and the people involved will ensure that we are transforming that student over a period of 2 years. And hence, we will never do anything that is not truly transformative beyond this course also. I mean, this is just one
Absolutely.
program, but that's the basic philosophy. And the third thing is we will make students ready for the industry from day one. Okay.
Hmm. Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
more
Everything you've said has pointed to that. It really feels like
correct.
that is the North Pole for you, or sorry, North
Absolutely.
Star, I mean,
Absolutely.
that has guided you this whole time.
And just quickly, I mean, completing the point of how the brand elements have flown from these three things. If you see our name, Crucible Institute of Management, Crucible stands in basically literally means a vessel where you mold and melt metal
Yeah, right.
under high heat and pressure. We are that place for our students because we will transform them through rigorous training across various aspects. If you see our logo, it's a bunch of squares, but
Hmm.
there's a red dot.
Yeah,
Basically, the squares is what you start before Crucible, and the red dot is the truly transformed student who stands out
interesting.
from that lot. And I mean, there are a lot of other things, but uh, those three things have helped us be very clear about what we want to do, what we don't want to do, what
Hmm.
is the right set of people who will join us, what is the kind of teaching we want to do, etc. For example, I mean. When I'm choosing my industry partners also, obviously I want to
Right.
communicate them to
You
my
have to
students,
still have those three in mind.
I have been very clear. So I have started meeting some of the head of HRs of these companies already to say that what is expected from them so that it's not just a logo on a website that
Yeah,
looks good but doesn't deliver the real learning when the course starts. Okay.
correct, correct.
Because we don't want to be a place like that.
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, I mean, just purity of intent and love for education is what I have when we are building Crucible.
It really shows.
Hopefully, the students are able to see it.
No,
That's the real litmus test. See, you feeling excited about it is one thing, but the students are the real litmus test. If they see this, then I will feel happy. Till then, the hard work continues.
absolutely, yeah. And I feel like even after that, the hard work continues, right? Because I can
Hundred
already
percent.
tell, I've only known you about 1.5 hours, but I can already tell that you're the type of person that will not relent. Like you're going to keep trying to make this better and better every single day, every
Absolutely.
single cohort session, year. And yeah, I mean, really appreciate you taking the time here today. And um, I honestly like, not to be too presumptuous, but I would love to meet again. Maybe it's, say a month from when the classes have started. I think you said
Sure.
August. August is
Yeah.
when it
Yeah.
starts, right? And it would be really cool to go over what are some of the things that have surprised you that you were like, okay, I thought this would happen, but that did not happen, and then actually
Oh,
that happened.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely. I
think that
mean,
would be really cool to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It would be good fun because I mean, I am facing those reality checks every other day.
Right,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It would be fun to do that.
Sounds good. Yeah, we will set that up and sounds great. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Naman. This is really a pleasure.
That brings us to the end of that episode with Suchit Sikaria. Thank you all for sharing these episodes with those that continue to benefit from them. If you would like to support me, the easiest way to do that is by subscribing on YouTube and leaving me up to a 5-star rating on Spotify or any of your favorite podcast apps. Something that goes a long ways if you in person tell your friends, your family members, whoever has ears or is willing to listen about your new favorite podcast. Definitely hitting a plateau here. It's been pretty rough over the past few weeks, and I'm really hoping to see some change in my fortunes here. Thank you all for watching. Catch you all in the next one. New episodes every Wednesday.